Of the many, many ways to play the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, one of my favorites recently has been Dueling Nexus. For those unaware, Nexus is a browser-based automatic simulator with support for a lot of alternate formats. It even works on phones. On August 3rd, 2026, an interesting announcement was posted in the Nexus Discord. Hi everyone, we have just deployed a new change to the game's updater, which will now update decks with beta cards when their IDs are changed, preventing decks from having to be manually remade once beta cards get their permanent IDs. This change will better help players test out new decks and archetypes as soon as they come out, without worry or fear of the list being lost over set releases. With this update, however, comes some disheartening news, as a deployment test has accidentally overridden players' decks into a test deck. Worry not, for we are looking into this issue and how to restore lists. For now, all decks have been removed from players' accounts to avoid issues. On the bright side, from what I can tell, everyone was mostly able to get their decks back. Nexus was able to load a backup. However, the test deck did spark a little interest. One of Nexus's tournament organizers decided to host a mirror match tournament to see just how badly this deck plays. Behold the worst Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck I have ever played. 17 of these 61 cards are literally completely unplayable in the context of this deck. Apocalypse Towers and Apocalypse Skybase both cannot be special summoned and require 3 Klee monsters on the field to tribute summon. Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos requires a ritual summon, and we don't have any ritual spells in the deck. Dark Magic Expanded and the Book of the Law require Dark Magicians and invoked monsters, respectively, and we don't have any of those. The second and third sarcophagus both require the first sarcophagus. We don't have that. Dragon Master Knight requires BLS. We don't have that. And both of these synchro monsters require other synchro monsters to summon them. And we don't have any of those. So, with those out of the way, let's talk about the rest of the deck. First, let's talk about monsters that can technically theoretically be summoned, but aren't really feasible to. We've got Har, Generator Boss of Storms, triple Blue Eyes White Dragon, and triple Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. Now, when I say not really feasible, but technically summonable, you'll see that we do have Monster Reborn here, but there's actually a better target you'll see later. And we've got Vorse Raider, which is probably the second best normal summon in the deck. Then we got double Obelisk, 1 Ra, and double Slifer, and 3 Ra's Disciple. Now, these 8 cards here are kind of the central metagame of this deck, for lack of a better phrase, though calling it a central metagame is kind of stretching it a little. It's more so a thing of every game I played with this devolved into a race of who could get a god card down first. So after this, we have triple Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, triple Malefic Blue Eyes White Dragon, and triple Astrograph Sorcerer the Starfrost Magician. Now, you may be asking yourself, Kai, why didn't you put Malefic Blue Eyes in the unplayable category? They can't exist on the board when you don't have a field spell in the deck. Well, it's very cute, but these actually synergize with Astrograph. So, if you have a Malefic in hand, you can banish a Blue Eyes, summon Malefic. When it hits the field, it sees there's no field spell. It will then destroy itself. An Astrograph Sorcerer says, if a face-up monster card you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then the rest of the text of this card literally does not matter. So if you have Malefic and Astrograph in hand at the same time, you have a free 2500 body. For spells, we have Polymerization, Double Summon, very useful if you have this, a Disciple, and a God card in hand, because then you can get a God card down turn 1 and just win the game from there. We've got double Monster Reborn. Now, the best targets for this would either have to be one of the god cards for like a 1-turn swing. The Blue Eyes, if you manage to dump them somehow into the grave. And then, funnily enough, your opponent's Ra's Disciple, if you manage to disrupt them. Because it doesn't care where it's summoned from. All it cares is that it gets summoned, and then it'll proc. So if your opponent gets down a Ra's Disciple before you can, and you manage to get one into the grave, then you can reborn their disciple, get 2 of your disciples out, and then you can have a god card if it's in your hand. Theoretically, at least. We've got Book of Moon, and then we have Painful Choice. Now, Painful Choice, there's kind of an interesting decision to make based on the cards in your hand when you activate this. You can either like just dump 4 of the least useful cards and thin your deck while you add the other useless card into your hand, or you can strategically like try to put monsters in the grave to reborn or something like that. You can get something like, you know, the Har or the Blue Eyes. It kind of makes it like less autopilot-y than just having Ra's up. There's a tiny amount of thinking that has to be done here. In the extra, we have 2 Dragon Master Knight, 1 5-headed dragon, 2 Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, 2 Blue Eyes Alternative Ultimate Dragon, 3 Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, 3 Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon, sorry, and then 1 Masquerade the Blazing Dragon. Side deck literally does not matter whatsoever. Now let's go watch the 2 worst matches of Yu-Gi-Oh! I have ever played. So here's our first match. My opponent's going first. I guess I'll do Painful here. At this point, I didn't really know about like the little micro game behind it, so I just clicked 5 whatever, got double summoned to hand, dumped the rest. Yeah. Discard for hand size. They got all 3 astrographs in their hand. That's 2 god cards. I discard double summon like an idiot because I didn't realize. They got Monster Reborn, so they can hit me for 4k. The good news is when the god cards are special summoned, they go back to grave. I summon Malefic and then realize that triggers Astrograph. And funnily enough, I said the rest of this text doesn't matter. It kind of does. You'll see later. So I hit them for 25. They realize the synergy and decide to summon their own Malefic. Summon Astrograph. Summon back the Malefic. Malefic's destroyed. They scale their second Astrograph. And then activate the Astrograph on field. Now, here's Astrograph's second monster effect. During the main phase, you can tribute this card for effect, then fusion summon a Dragon Fusion monster from your extra deck, shuffling its materials from your field and or face-up extra deck into the deck. My opponent does not have a legal target that can be fusion summoned. So, they tribute Astrograph for effect, and nothing else happens. So I hit them for 25, and we just keep staring at each other. Double towers, double skybase. You hate to see it. It's their last turn. I discard for hand size. Raw to hand. Literally doesn't matter. I have alternatives, so I guess I'll summon it now. And GG's. Yep. So it's time for game 2. My opponent is going first once again. And it's time to stare. So, y'all read any good books lately? Watch any good movies? Oh, something happened. They got Ra's Disciple on field. And they can hit me for 11 and not this 11 because I booked them, and then another 11, and then back to staring. Oh, I got my Rod's Disciple. So I can summon 2 and then hit their set. Now they can't summon a god card. They Book of Moon one of my Ra's. And then I fail to read that Ra's Disciple has more text on it. Namely, that it can only be tributed to summon a god card. And you can't special summon monsters except by the effect of Ra's Disciple while it's on field. So I spend a couple minutes crashing out about how I can't summon Blue Eyes White Dragon. And we resume. Here comes Painful Choice. By this point, I realized the point of the stupid game, almost a little bit, tiny bit. Stare. Opponent decides to clear the field so that they can summon Malefic for nothing because they don't have Astrograph in hand. I reborn my Blue Eyes. Nice top deck, and then I summon out Twin Burst. Hit for 3k. And then my opponent continues to stare at me. Here comes another 3k. Yep. G cheese. That's 2-0. Yep. Okay, so now I somehow managed to make it to the finals, and it's time for game 1 against my opponent in, again, grand finals somehow. So here we go. I'm going first. I do have the Ra's Disciple. So Slifer's in hand. I get him next turn. My opponent draws for turn the Ra's Disciple. 1, 2, and they do have double summon. And they have the Obelisk in hand. And my Book of Moon does nothing because it can't be targeted. So I'm locked. I'll turn those sideways. They summon out Vorse Raider. I book Vorse Raider, so I stay alive one more turn. Yeah. They flip up Vorse Raider. I get hit for 4k. And I don't draw an out. So, sure, pal. So this is what it feels like to be on the other side. Okay, the pain's almost over. It's time for game 2. Let's just go. We're going first again. Here's Malefic. I don't know why I did it when I didn't have Astrograph in hand. It was late. Vorse Raider hit for 19, sure. I'll set book for next turn. They have Ra's Disciple for turn. Yep. I'll book the Vorse Raider. At this point, my brain is probably like physically leaking out of my ears. I was like barely conscious going through this last game, I'll be fully honest. My opponent decides my opponent decides to give me 3 more turns. So let's see if I can find an out. Turn 1, nothing. Turn 2, nothing. Turn 3, there's Slifer. Turn 3, I do in fact have something to do, but then I fail to read the text on Slifer that says that this only works when they summoned in attack position. So I stupidly summon out my Ra's Disciples and then watch them all go to grave because of Slifer's effect. At this point, I have lost the game. There is absolutely nothing I can do to come back for this. So I just decide to screw around a little more, and just wait for my opponent to end me. And they say, you know what? Let's have a little more fun. It's very obviously the last game of Yu-Gi-Oh! We will play with these decks. I'm not touching this again, ever. I'm never subjecting anyone to this again. Ever. Ever in my life. Here's their alternative. Sure. It was like, what, 8 or 9 p.m. as I was doing this. I was actively falling asleep at the keyboard. Yeah. They get Obelisk, sure. Watch any good movies lately, anybody? The Odyssey was pretty good. I had very high expectations, and I was absolutely blown out of the water. Here's second alternative, Reborn the third alternative. There's the Poly, make ultimate. This styling around was literally because they wanted to summon Shining Dragon because they knew it was the last time they would ever be able to do it in their life. So yeah, the game is over. So, what did we learn from all this? I guess the ultimate moral of the story is keep multiple backups of your decks on multiple sites, because otherwise you might be stuck with this garbage. I am never touching this deck again in my life. Goodbye.